Get your brand or song in front of each video that we do here on the channel. We got specials going on right now, and we accommodate almost every budget. Email me right now, ogod@hiphopun.com. Do not wait, let's work. All right, so welcome to your news report to the day. A couple of headlines I get into before I get into the main topic. So Chris Brown was actually released from a UK jail. Now, he was arrested last week after flying over there to fulfill his tour obligations. When he touched down in the UK, they picked him up for an alleged assault back in 2023. Now, earlier today, he had another bond hearing, and he was actually granted. He was actually granted bond today, but not without coughing up like damn near $7 million. So he is allowed to, finish what he's going to do, and keep touring and then go back when his next court date arrives. I think it's June the 13th will be his next actual court date. So good for him. The industry is definitely celebrating Breezy. All you see is free Breezy, free Breezy. Shout out to Breezy. Now, Rod Wave. And I know the youngsters like him. I love him, right? He was arrested, right, on multiple felony charges related to an alleged violent incident that took place last month. Now, the 25-year-old rapper was taken into custody actually yesterday. The story broke today with a whopping 13 different felonies, including aggravated assault, possession of a firearm during a felony, pointing a gun at another person, criminal damage to property, reckless conducts, and tampering with evidence. He quickly, as we know he should, he probably got it on his neck. He quickly secured a bond and was released from jail. His rap sheet or his allegation sheet or charge sheet, I should say, is all over the internet. So you can go dig deeper. I ain't know Rod was into that. I ain't know he was in the mix like that, Rod. But nevertheless, that's a lot. I'm sure some of that stuff will be downgraded. Some of it may be even dropped in the future. But for now, that's his fate. He's gonna have to deal with all of that, and see what happens on the next time he goes to court. He got some time now. He can keep making money doing this thing. But like I said, I didn't know Rod was. I don't really listen to his music, but I know the youngsters and NFL players, they talk about bumping them in their headphones. So much love to him, much respect, and good luck dealing with those people. So let's move on to the next story, because I know you're probably been worried about what happened to Mysitcal, right? What happened to our brother Mysitcal? Now we know that he, is a registered SA or SO offender, right? From an incident that went down back, I think, in 2003. He served about 6 years in prison at a point in time. Now, he is still behind bars with no trial date. He has been behind bars since 2022 for an alleged incident that went down, R word, that a woman is claiming that he did. Now, he appeared in the courtroom last week, May the 14th, out there, down bottom, New Orleans. Beautiful city. I love New Orleans, right? Um, Now they say the 53-year-old rapper Bon Michael Tyler has been held without bond, like I said, since 2022. He did plead not guilty. Now, the hearing lasted most of the day, but ended without a ruling. Now, a gag order remains in effect, limiting what attorneys can say publicly. His legal team is expected again to meet next week to determine the next steps. No trial date has been set, so they're just holding him, not giving him bail, not giving him bond. Now, his family was in there. His mom, and she said, I am praying for him. Now, these charges again stem from an alleged assault at Mystical's home in Prairieville, Louisiana. Now, according to a police report from USA Today, the victim claimed that she was attacked during or over a dispute over money. She told investigators at the time that Mystical choked her, pulled her hair, and you know Listen to this. Forcing her to pray with him to remove bad spirits. He said, then after that, he allegedly had his way and R'd her. Now, he is a registered sex offender. Like I said, he served 6 years after pleading guilty to sexual battery and extortion in 2003. Now, I will tell you this. On several different occasions through his attorneys, Mysitcal has denied any wrongdoing from any of these cases. So he'll have to wait and see and go through the system as well. Not a good look, not a good thing at all, man. So look, we'll have another update next week for you guys on that. And yeah, so Big U, bro. Let's move on to Big U because look, he was arrested for the RICO. They hit you with the RICO. They repo that vehicle. It was all good just a week ago, right? Remember Jay-Z? Anyway, he is now, his lawyer dropped out. His lawyer withdrew from the case. Now, he told the court, according to reports, Big U, that he does not have enough money for legal counsel or an attorney. So he is prepared to defend himself in court. Now, I wouldn't recommend this. I mean, you got to do what you got to do if you ain't got the money. But I've seen even some of the best people, like you can see it on YouTube and whatnot. And it's so much nuances. There's so much things that you got to know, how you got to understand, how you got to move the court, how you got to talk, how you got to do this, how you got to do that. It's going to be damn near impossible. You're kind of digging the grave. At this point, you might as well kind of just see what plea deal they're giving you. And this is just look, I'm no attorney, but who am I to say take a plea deal? You fighting for your life. You're fighting literally for your life. So maybe you say, look, it's worth it. Let me go and see if I can beat these people. I think I'm innocent. But when that evidence starts to come in and those discoveries start to come in, you got to know how to attack that stuff. So if you can get a skilled attorney who can give you a fighting chance, do that. Like, this is not like he's been in jail for 10 years in a law library and he's been studying different things. And you fresh out. You don't know a lick about a lick of nothing. And you're about to try to fight these people. They got all this information they've been compiling for 5-6 years. I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying count the costs. Because when your life and your back's against the wall, you're gonna be like, all right, man, look, I ain't got the money, I'll do it. I was reading the comments, a lot of people saying he's cooked. He ain't never gonna be this and that and this. I'm not gonna wish no bad on him, man. I'm just saying it's like climbing a mountain, Kilimanjaro, one of them big mountains with no harness, and you never climbed the mountain. You never even climbed the wall before. That's what type of task is in front of him now, and you're behind a wall. So some of the resources that you would have out in the world, you're not going to have behind the wall. I don't know how, like, what it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So Big U is in a world of shit. And right, like I said, that story came out today that he's not even able to afford his lawyer. So that's a bad look. So let's move on, man. Let's move on. I'm not talking about that boss man down D-Lo stuff, whatever. Not getting into that, whatever. Right. Let's talk about the government's exhibit today with Diddy, what they put out there, right? So they put out the there we go. They put out the pictures from the raid. Put that on there. They put out the pictures from the raid today. And a lot of pictures came out from Diddy's crib when they raided my man's crib or whatever the case may be. So this is off ForbesActually.com. I'm gonna go through some of the stuff that they found here. I was gonna crop every picture, but it just takes too long, whatever the case may be. So I'll get to exactly what they found, but we'll go through some of the pictures right here. Here's the baby oil that they're talking about. You know, it looks like nitrous oxide. That's one of the government exhibits. Here's another one. Some lingerie, some high heels. Here's another one, which appears to be a rolled up dollar bill in a powdery substance, which I think well, I know that they confirm that cocaine was found as well. Here's some pills here. I can only guess look like Xanax, maybe some Roxy's, some Benadryl, and I don't know what the other stuff is, but that's what it looks like to me. You know what I mean? Here's some other stuff that they had, and some of this probably have to be redacted. Here's some looks like an AR style rifle here. They said the serial numbers were detached as well. These are the Cassie joint. All right, we already seen that. The Cassie stuff. I'm not gonna go into that. So yeah, that this is just some of the stuff that was seen and was showed before the court, today. Because again, they're trying to paint this picture. And they are painting this picture that this dude is, a straight up and down. I don't know what that is. What's that? Pink cocaine? But they got to paint the picture like this. They have to paint it like this, they got to give you the visual and whatnot, as you see that, we're not just talking about this. We found this stuff in this man's house. Because remember, they're trying to build the RICO as well. Like none of this might not be applicable to the trafficking. Maybe it is, maybe isn't. But once you see all this stuff, it's like, all right, now we can set the stage, for the RICO, because he's got drugs, he's got guns, he got a whole criminal enterprise here. And we need to stop this man. We got to get rid of this man before, he all right, stop sharing. Does it to someone else, or does this to someone else, or whatever the case may be. I continue to maintain that I just don't see the RICO and the sex trafficking aspect being applicable here. DV, drugs, guns, ammunition, all types of stuff like that. Beating up women and it's funny because like even like the sex acts or whatever the case may be. Like, I mean, you got a whole industry. What's the difference between, right, you putting on one of those joints on a website and somebody they try to say, oh, who's directing and doing this? That's what they doing with videos. They sitting back and they directing. The only difference here is they're trying to pretty much say that, look, he's doing this under the guise of control. He's doing this against the will, fear, power, intimidation. That's why people are doing this, because they're scared of him. Because Cassie's scared. She's shook. She can't muster up the courage to leave. So she does this to please this man. He's directing this. This is the operation. And it's from people that I'm listening to and what I'm reading and what I'm gleaming. I don't know if it's that, bro. I really don't. I do not know if it's that. And I'm remaining objective as possible. You got a report that came out. One of the workers said he dressed up in Muslim garb and was naked under there. And all right, I get it. But the trafficking thing was kind of like, and the RICO thing is like this. This what it looks like to me. Like, all right, this dude got his big ass crib, his mansion. He got a bunch of drugs in there. He likes to have weird. He likes to beat off while his wife is getting pop by other dudes. Right? He's into mad drugs. He's abusive as hell, physically and mentally abusive. And he pays these people to do these different acts. How does that equate to trafficking? And how is that a criminal enterprise? If it's a criminal enterprise, how is Cassie not being charged? If she aided and abetted and set up some of these freak offs, you giving her immunity because she's so-called flipping? That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm not sympathetic. I'm sympathetic, but it just like if you were to say that, all right, he would put me in a room, he would lock us in, he would force me to do this. I would be crying, I will be weeping. I would be so much out of my mind with drugs. I wouldn't know what was going on. I would wake up this and that and this and that. Then I would be like, oh, but a lot of this stuff, she was a willing participant. I'm not going to say all, but a lot, whatever the percentage is, She was a participant, willing participant. And it's hard for me to get away from that fact. I know a lot of people not going to like it. I know a lot of people are going to call me this. I know a lot of people are going to call me that. They're going to say you this and that, and you don't know. But I'm just going off what I see so far. I'm just going off what I see so far. Like, yo, like she was turned out. It was even text messages where she was like, Diddy was like, whoa, slow your roll, girl. Slow your roll. Slow your roll. Like you really like, I'm setting it up. You know, you know. So you want to do one? I ain't even thinking about nothing. A freak off, but now you want to do it? All right, well, shit, let's go. That was the flavor. That was the vibe that she was coming off on. Like she was with it. You know, when you could say, oh, she wanted to please him, and they now they bring in the so-called expert to talk about why people don't leave these type of relationships, like because they know that the defense is digging in there. You know what about her being a willing participant? So now they want to bring someone in and say, okay, this is why someone wouldn't leave in a situation like this. Dang it, like really, like you got to go to you really have to do that. You really got to bring someone in to explain this. Like, okay, well, it's this and this syndrome and that syndrome, and you know, because of fear, because of power, because of this and because of that. And since when did y'all keep saying Diddy had all his power? Since when did a black man become more powerful than the damn police force, the FBI? Since when? Oh, he was getting her records. He could have found her. Since when? You know, we ain't effing with the police like that. So why are we making it seem like this dude was so mighty and powerful, and you know, even if she went to the police or somebody, he would do this and do that? And I'm not saying it's not possible, but we keep making up excuses that might not be the truth. We keep maybe putting ourselves in a situation, you know, or we had an experience, or you know, we see that she's a woman, so we feel for her, and I understand that. But we got to keep it a bean. We got to keep it G. We got to keep it G about what's going on. Like, yo, this is like they say, this is not an inference. This is they showing messages. They're showing text messages. They're showing like, all right, boom. I love you, baby. Boom. I'm trying to get it popping tonight. You got some perks, you got some Xannies, you got some Coke, you got some alcohol. Hey, yo, bring me some of them E-pills. You know, bring me some XD too. We getting it in tonight. Is that forced? Maybe he has some type of some Debo mind power over her. He was an abusive dude. I'm sure he was physically and mentally abusive. I'm sure. But did that constitute just and two could be this two could be the same, or two could be correct. He could have been physically and mentally abusive and not forcing her to do anything. He could have just been whooping on her, calling all types of names, and she was still down with it. It could be that. It don't have to be like because he did that, he forced her. He was forcing her to do this. She could have said, "Hell no, I'm not into that. I'm not into that. I'm not doing that." What happened to, you know, being a strong woman? I'm strong. I'm strong. I'm this and I'm that. What happened to that? That goes out the window in the situation. That's not like normal. That's not a normal thing to be sharing people. That's stuff on the movies and pornos. You know. So again, you know, they found a lot of things. Let's see, cocaine, ketamine, MDMA, excuse me, Xanax, mushrooms, guns, baby oil, lingerie, sex toys, condoms, and things of the sort. You know, probably stuff that you'll find in people's house. If we would look in your closet, what would be in your closet? How much medication, pills, and shit, and drugs and shit you got in your house? Cigarettes and weed and whatever you into. Maybe you got sex toys in the closet, heels. So you got a couple weapons. Like, you know what I mean? It's like we what are we doing? Like I almost expect him to have this shit in his crib. I expect him to have guns. You know damn well he's doing drugs, they popping and all that, right? And the sex, I mean, if he's a single guy, and you know, so it's not like a big revelation, like whoa, like what is, you know, even the baby oil thing, like they made it seem like he had 1,000 bottles of baby or 50 million pounds of baby oil. And again, I'm not trying to absolve him. I'm just like, how did we get to this trafficking thing? How did we get there? Is it a bigger agenda? Right? Is it fair? Should he be locked up? Probably. Should he do some time? Probably. Real talk. Like, I mean, obviously, if he could be charged with all this stuff, if the statute of limitations didn't run out, I'm sure they can get him for the drugs and the guns and all that. But what's that? 5 years, maybe 10 at the most. He already been in there for a minute, so he might walk on some Tekashi type shit without snitching. So let's look at the definition of sex trafficking. Right? A sex trafficking charge involves compelling a person by force, fraud, or coercion to engage in commercial sexual acts. So we go to elaboration. They say it's a form of human trafficking where individuals are exploited for sexual purposes. This includes being compelled to engage in commercial sex acts. So they made up a definition, right? And now they taking what people do behind their closed doors, and this is what the feds do anyway. They're inferring like, all right, this was coercion. They haven't proved it. They're implying, okay, he did it by coercion because he was such a powerful figure. He was a scary black man. He forced her to do this because if he didn't do it, he would beat her ass. If he didn't do it, she would lose this, she would lose that. So this is scary. This is kind of scary because it's a thin line here. And it's like, I mean, you can almost think about it. When you was in your party days and your heydays and whatnot, and you know, you was with a chick, or you know, when y'all was, you know, whatever the case may be, and you know how things go. It's like, you know, one thing lead to another. Next thing you know, y'all doing it. She come back and say, "Oh, he coerced me into doing this. Because we was drinking together. He took it." Like it's so many. The fine, even the other way around. It could be a woman who could, you know, or a man that could say a woman did this to him, and you know, we was drinking together, and I was a little inebriated, and you know, one thing, and you know, I wasn't really with it. She could, if I feel like I ain't do it, she was going to do this, or else she was the boss at my job, and if I feel like I ain't do it, I wasn't gonna get a promotion or a raise. You see how that line is kind of fine. Like, how do we really prove that? But besides somebody saying, "Look, if you don't do this, you're not going to get this." So it's one of those things where, you know, this case, in my opinion, can go either way. It could go either way. But I'm gonna digress on that. I appreciate y'all listening in. Leave your thoughts. I always say, leave your thoughts, leave your comments, leave your ideologies, your opinions, and we're gonna bring some people on, man, in the next couple of days to really kind of dig in and talk about this on a whole nother level than we could ever do it. So it's your brother Oga, man, Hip Hop News Uncensored.